Making the headlines tonight, Prime Minister Hun Sen hopes Myanmar military leader would reconsider the death sentence ordered for two young men from opposition groups. Prime Minister Hun Sen addressed the representative of the European Union in Cambodia and said that for Cambodia, the right to life is given to the highest importance and must be protected. European Commission President returned to Kyiv for a meeting with Ukrainian President to discuss the country's reconstruction and progress towards European Union membership. This is the Daily Roundup on EAC News Channel. A very good evening to you. I am Dekanin. Prime Minister Hun Sen has said that he hopes Myanmar military leader Senior General Min Aung Hlaing will reconsider the death sentence ordered for two young men from opposition groups. The Prime Minister sent a letter to military leader on Friday saying that the execution of the two opposition youth, if followed through, would trigger very strong and widespread negative reactions from the international community. Prime Minister Hun Sen made this statement while addressing the students who completed their training course in 2020 and 2021 at the Royal School of Administration and for the start of the school's training courses in 2022 on Monday morning, 11th of June. EC News reporter Dashana Gojin has more details.
On Friday, 10th June, Prime Minister Hun Sen, in his capacity as the 2022 ASEAN chair, sent a letter to Myanmar military leader Senior General Min Aung Hlaing regarding the death sentence of two youths from opposition groups, asking him to reconsider this decision. In the letter sent by the Prime Minister to the Myanmar military leader last week, he said that the planned execution, if indeed carried out, would trigger a very strong and widespread negative reaction from the international community. He said this would also have a devastating effect on ASEAN and Cambodia's efforts as the ASEAN chair to support Myanmar's return to normalcy and the pathway to finding a peaceful solution to the current crisis through inclusive dialogue in line with the ASEAN 5-point consensus. Prime Minister Hun Sen reaffirmed Cambodia's commitment to assisting Myanmar's return to normalcy and the restoration of its full participation in the ASEAN community building process. According to Thai PBS World News, during a press conference on 8th June, the spokesperson for Myanmar State Administration Council, General Jaw Min Thun, confirmed that 4 prisoners, 2 of whom are politicians, would be sentenced to death. The 4 include ex-NLD MP Phyo Jia Thaw and 88th-generation student leader Chaw Min Nhu, aka Jimmy, who both had their appeals rejected. In response to a question posed at the press conference on whether people with death sentences will actually be executed, General Jaw Min Thun said, once the death sentence has been passed, they will surely be put to death through the legal process. When, how, and where all depends on the prison manual. There will be steps to transfer prisoners to death row and so on. After the coup in February 2021, Phyo Jia Thaw, along with the majority of NLD party members, went into hiding. According to the SAC, he was arrested on 18th November for possession of firearms, including an M16 rifle, a Sig Sauer pistol and bullets in Yangon's Dagon Seikan township. Darshana Gauchen, EAC News.
Prime Minister Hun Sen addressed the representative of the European Union in Cambodia and said that Europe and Cambodia have different priorities, and for Cambodia, the right to life is given the highest importance and must be protected. He made this statement while speaking at the closing ceremony of the 2020-2021 and start of the 2022 training courses of the Royal School of Administration on Monday morning, 11th of June 2022. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has more.
During his speech, the Prime Minister recalled the emergency response measures put in place to control the outbreak of COVID-19, citing them as important actions made to protect the right of life of citizens. He stressed that in Cambodia, having the right of life comes first and only do the rights follow. While looking at the EU representative of Cambodia, the Prime Minister said, if the right to life does not exist, then you have no rights at all.
សិទ្ធទាំងអស់រាប់ទាំងសិទ្ធដែលយើងទៅនឹងបានកន្លងផុតប្រហែលថ្ងៃនេះជាងមួយអាទិត្យនេះកាលពីថ្ងៃអាទិត្យមុនយើងបោះឆ្នោតអានោះជាសិទ្ធនៃដំណើរការប្រជាធិបតេយ្យហើយប៉ុន្តែសួរតែខ្មៅវាទៅចេះបោះឆ្នោតទេវាអត់ចេះទៅបោះឆ្នោតទេអញ្ចឹងចំណុចនេះគឺជាចំណុចដែលគួរយើងដកពិសោធន៍អំពីចំណុចដែលយើងពេលដែលមានសភាពការត្រូវប្រមូលផ្ដុំកម្លាំងជាតិទាំងមូលប្រយុទ្ធប្រឆាំង
Cambodia had its first major COVID-19 outbreak on the 20th of February 2021. In response, the royal government issued several emergency response measures, including lockdown and a launch to a national vaccination campaign. It took Cambodia 8 months to vaccinate the majority of its target population, which led the government to fully reopen the country on the 1st of November 2022 and to officially close the 20th February community outbreak event on the 20th of December 2021. The president of the Cambodian Human Rights Committee, Kiao Rami, once said that the Prime Minister Hun Sen has saved the lives of people in 2 major events: during the people's liberation of the Khmer Rouge genocide regime and when saving people dying from COVID-19. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has stated that the percentage of people vaccinated against COVID-19 in Cambodia has increased to about 94% of the total population. When looking at the result of the recent Commune Sangkat election, he said people who went to the polls voted for both the ruling party and the opposition, which proves that vaccine distribution in Cambodia was not politicized. EAC News reporter Dashana Gojin has more.
Speaking at the closing ceremony of the 2020 to 2021 and start of the 2022 training courses of the Royal School of Administration with more than 2,000 students, the Prime Minister highlighted how 74% of people voted for the CPP in the recent Commune Sangkat election, meaning that the remaining 25% voted for other parties. He underlined that all voters had been vaccinated, thus showing that vaccine distribution in Cambodia does not discriminate against politics, religion, or ethnicity.
ជាមួយនឹងការស្រោះគ្នាមិនថាអ្នកណានៅបកណាទេពេលនោះគឺស្រោះគ្នាអ្នកបោះឆ្នោតឲ្យគណៈបកប្រជាជនមានតែ74ជាង 74% ទេអញ្ចឹងនៅសល់26ជិត 26% ជាង 25% ទៀតបោះឲ្យណាអញ្ចឹងអ្នកនោះសួរតើបានទទួលវ៉ាក់សាំងទេសុទ្ធតែបានទទួលវ៉ាក់សាំងហើយទាំងអស់នោះអញ្ចឹងមានន័យថាវ៉ាក់សាំងនៅកម្ពុជាមិនមែនជាវ៉ាក់សាំងរើសអើងនយោបាយវ៉ាក់សាំងរើសអើងសាសនាវ៉ាក់សាំងរើសអើងជនជាតិទៀត
The Prime Minister called on all Cambodians and foreigners in Cambodia to go and get the vaccine that is open to all, and further emphasized that the royal government does not charge money for COVID-19 vaccines. He also said that he recently received the pneumonia vaccine after getting his blood checked and seeing that his antibodies are still high from the 4th dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. As a result, the Prime Minister decided to receive the pneumonia vaccine first, which protects the lungs, but said he is preparing to receive the 5th dose of the COVID-19 vaccine in the near future. As of 11th June 2022, the vaccination rate in Cambodia is at 94.1% of the 16 million population. This includes 103.23% of those aged 18 and above, 100.65% of those aged 12 to 17, 109.23% of those aged 6 to 11, and 133.6% of those 5 years of age. Darshana Gochan, EAC News.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has called on all those who alleged that the 5th Commune Sangkat election was stolen to swear by their claims and show to the public how this could have been done. The Prime Minister made this statement while addressing the students who completed their training course in 2020 to 2021 at the Royal School of Administration and for the start of the new training courses in 2022 on Monday morning 11th of June 2022. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has further details.
According to the Prime Minister Hun Sen, the results of the 5th Commune Sangkat Council elections show that the Cambodian People's Party received support of more than 70% of electorate seats, meaning that the CPP still control 99% of the Commune chief's positions and more than 80% of positions in the Commune Council. He said this number shows the overwhelming support received by the CPP and the peoples of the largely support of the party's policies and the ongoing goal of peace and development. The Prime Minister who also asked those who claimed that the election was stolen to do swear on his accusation and help to show the public exactly how the election could be cheated or rigged.
នៅក្នុងមណ្ឌលបោះនៅកន្លែងហ្នឹងបោះម៉ោង7ព្រឹកម៉ោង3បិទរួចហើយរាប់នៅកន្លែងហ្នឹងគេថាយើងលួចហើយបើយើងបបួលស្បត់ណាបណ្ដាចេះហ៊ានទេគេថាស្បត់គឺជារឿងកប៉ិចកប៉ុបរឿងអត់បានការប៉ុន្តែសូមបញ្ជាក់ណារឿងស្បត់មិនមែនរឿងតូចតាចទេប្រធានាធិបតីក៏ដោយនាយករដ្ឋមន្ត្រីក៏ដោយសមាជិកសភាក៏ដោយមុនពេលចូលកាន់តំណែងស្បត់ទាំងអស់តើអាហ្នឹងវាកប៉ិចកប៉ុបទេពាក្យស្បត់នៅមានណារដ្ឋធម្មនុញ្ញប្រទេសមួយសូម្បីតែអាមេរិកកាន់ក៏យកកពីគ្រឹះយកទៅស្បត់ដែរតាមិនបានថាស្បត់ជារឿងលេងសើចថាជារឿងតច្រោះ
The Prime Minister stressed, to those who accuse us of stealing the election, do you dare to swear and get struck by lightning? Do not say that you do not dare to swear because swearing is a joke. Why are you afraid to swear? If there is clear evidence that the elections was rigged, swear on it and don't be afraid. Prime Minister Hun Sen's remark come after the senior official of the Candlelight Party, Son Che, announced that the party will accept the seats it had won in the fifth mandate Commune Sankrat Council election, despite feeling dissatisfaction with the overall results and concluding that the election was not fair and free. Son Che said, "We declare that the election was not free and fair, which means we do not recognise the election, but we want to improve it to be fair in the future because this election does not reflect that will of the people. But if asked to take the seats we won, we will take what belongs to us." The fifth mandate Commune Sankrat Council election in 2022 was held on Sunday the 5th of June with 17 political parties participating in total. These parties completed to hold 11,622 commune council seats from 1,652 communes and districts nationwide. The number of people who went to vote was close to 7.3 million people, which is about 80% of the 9.2 million registered voters. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
Prime Minister Hun Sen has announced that civil servants will finally have their salaries increased in 2022 after not receiving any salary raises for 2 years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the Prime Minister, doctors and teachers will receive a minimum salary of 1.5 million rial, while other officials will receive a minimum salary of 1.4 million rial. At the same time, he also told the Minister of Economy to raise the tax ceiling to ensure that those with a salary below 1.5 million rial will not be taxed.
យើងខានតម្លើងវាវត្តឆ្នាំ2020ក៏មិនបានឡើង2021ក៏មិនបានឡើងឥឡូវ2022នេះយើងនឹងចាប់ផ្ដើមឡើងតែឡើងហ្នឹងមិនគិតជាភាគរយទេណាឡើងតាមរបៀប
Prime Minister Hun Sen made this announcement at the closing ceremony of the 2020-2021 and start of the 2022 training courses of the Royal School of Administration on Monday morning, 11th of June, 2022. The Cambodian Minister of Defense, Deputy Prime Minister Thia Banh, affirmed to the international community that military modernization and capacity building in the defense sector is an obligation for each nation in accordance with its own regional security environment and the world. In this regard, the Deputy Prime Minister said any such baseless and problematic accusations made against Cambodia are a complete insult to authority and governance of the country. The Defense Minister made this statement at the IISS Shangri-La Dialogue 2022 in Singapore on Saturday, 11th of June. EAC News reporter Anthony Ellis has the story.
Addressing the fourth plenary session on military modernisation and new defence capabilities at the 2022 ISS Shangri-La Dialogue, Deputy Prime Minister Thia Banh stated that Cambodia is still the owner of the Ream Naval Base and that the development of this base is not a threat to security of any country or region, whether near or far. He considered the allegations made against the base as an excuse to undermine Cambodia's interests. He added that the capacity building of the Royal Cambodian Armed Forces is not just about moderation of the Ream Naval Base. Cambodia will also continue to increase the capacity of the armed forces, not only ensure the protection of the sovereignty of territorial integrity, but also to successfully fulfill our task, such as to counter terrorism and transitional crime, conduct rescue and peacekeeping operations, and more. The Deputy Prime Minister said, the most important determinant is that the proper protection and just defence of our respective sovereignty and territorial integrity. In addition, we'll need modern facilities to respond to threats, including counter-terrorism, maritime security, disaster relief, and participation in US peacekeeping operations. He affirmed that Cambodians' main goal is to live in peace, friendship, cooperation, brotherhood, and equality with neighbouring countries and countries in the region, and that the Southeast Asian nation only wants to have the ability to defend itself and be able to participate in building regional and global peace. He added that it was unfair and impossible for Cambodia to be forced into a state of stagnation or regress, while other countries continue to expand their military power and influence. For the last few years, some foreign media and Western countries, especially the United States, have accused Cambodia of allowing China to set up military base in the country. The attack came after Cambodia demolished a US-aided building in the Ream naval base. Deputy Prime Minister Thir Ban stressed that Cambodia is an independent sovereign state and the full rights to manage its own national destiny, and stated in Article 53 of the Constitution. The Kingdom of Cambodia does not allow foreign military bases on its territory and also does not allow to have its military bases abroad, except within the framework of the United Nations request. The Kingdom of Cambodia reserves the right to receive foreign aid in the form of military equipment, ammunition, training of armed forces, and other assistance to defend itself and to ensure public order and security within the country. The IISS Sri Lanka Dialogue is a major defence summit in Asia and was held this year from 10th to the 12th of June in Singapore. The summit offers a chance of ministers to debate the region's most pressing security challenges, engage in important bilateral talks, and come up with fresh approaches together. While the Deputy Prime Minister, Thir Ban, was in Singapore for the summit, he also met with Australian Defence Minister Richard Marles on Friday the 10th of June to discuss bilateral relations between Cambodia and Australia in the field of defence. Both ministers mutually expressed the desire to further expand the military relationship between the two countries. Anthony Ellis, EAC News.
If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of our platforms and channels. The EAC News app, YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eacnews.asia. Join me and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favourite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear.
European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen returned to Kyiv on Saturday, 11th of June, for a meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to discuss the country's reconstruction and progress towards European Union membership.
Zelensky shook hands and greeted von der Leyen as she arrived for her second trip to Kyiv since the start of the war in February, before they held their meeting with officials and later a news conference. In the joint news conference, von der Leyen said Saturday's discussions with Zelensky would enable the EU executive to complete its assessment on Ukraine's request to join the Union by the end of next week, whether to recommend Ukraine as a candidate for membership of the European Union. The move, whose timing was widely expected, would only be a preliminary step in a long process. All 27 EU governments would have to agree to grant Ukraine candidate status, after which there would be extensive talks on the reforms required before Kyiv could be considered for membership. Von der Leyen, in her second trip to Kyiv since the start of the war in February, reminded Zelensky that despite important progress on administration reforms and in other fields, much still needed to be done. You have done a lot in strengthening the rule of law, but there is still a need for reforms to be implemented, to fight corruption, for example, she told the joint press conference. At the same conference, Zelensky said, "All of Europe is a target for Russia, and Ukraine is just the first stage in this aggression. This is why a positive EU response to the Ukraine application for membership can be a positive answer to the question of whether the European project has a future at all," he added. After that, talks will need to start and be completed on several reforms required before Kyiv could be considered for membership.
The Chinese army will not hesitate to go to war and fight to the end in case anyone dares to secede Taiwan from China, said State Councilor and Defense Minister Wei Feng on Sunday in a speech delivered at the ISS Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore during the Asian Security Summit.
The Chinese army will not hesitate to go to war and fight to the end, in case anyone dares to secede Taiwan from China, said the Council of Defense Minister Wei Fenghe on Sunday in a speech delivered to the Shangri-La Dialogue in Singapore. In case anyone dares to split Taiwan from China, we, the Chinese army, will surely not hesitate to go to war, fight at all costs and fight to the end. This is the only choice for China. Here, I'd also warn the Taiwan sensationalists and forces behind them speaking to split Taiwan from China is dead end, which simply is a delusion. To be savagely dependent on foreigners to gain some recognition will never work, and those who embrace the idea should stop daydreaming, said Wei. China has made impressive progress in developing new nuclear weapons, but will only use them for the self-defense and never use them first. Chinese Defense Minister Wei Fenghe told delegates on the Shangri-La Dialogue on Sunday. In response to a question about reports last year on construction's more than 100 nuclear missile silos in China's east, he said China has always pursued an appropriate path to develop nuclear capabilities for protection of our country. He said the ultimate goal of China's nuclear arsenal was to prevent nuclear war. We've developed nuclear capabilities to protect the hard work of the Chinese people and protect our people from the source of the nuclear warfare, he said. The three-day summit was held in Singapore from Friday to Sunday after a 2-year suspension due to COVID-19 pandemic. The summit focused on security in the Asian Pacific region and viable solutions.
The military version of the Indo-Pacific strategy, being vigorously promoted by the United States at the 19th IISS Shangri-La Dialogue, is to intervene in the development of the Asia-Pacific region under the guise of security concerns, which will undermine the prosperity and stability of the countries in the region, said Chinese military experts on Saturday. During the summit, U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin delivered a speech titled Next Step for the United States Indo-Pacific Strategy and made unfounded accusations against China on Saturday. The expert said the countries in the region need to be vigilant over U.S. repeated remarks on changing political circumstances around China. The so-called Indo-Pacific strategy proposed by the U.S. is calling for an anti-China alliance to contain China's development. The Asia-Pacific region has made constructive efforts in maintaining peace and stability and promoting development and prosperity over the past few decades, but the regional development will be jeopardized if the political circumstances around China are undermined, experts noted. In fact, the countries in the region have been rising in the past few decades. They have all benefited from the development of the Asia-Pacific region and the rise of China. If the leading role of circumstances is changed from development and peace to military security and differences and confrontation, it will bring very big problems to the regional peace and stability, said Zhao Xiaozhou, a researcher at the Academy of Military Sciences of China's People's Liberation Army. The essence of the so-called Indo-Pacific strategy is to strengthen the containment of China by using China as a major strategic competitor and building an alliance system in the Indo-Pacific region, said Cao Yangzhong, another researcher with the Academy of Military Sciences. There is but one China in the world. Taiwan is part of China, and the government of the People's Republic of China is the sole legal government representing the whole of China. There is but one China in the world. Taiwan is part of China, and the government of the People's Republic of China is the sole legal government representing the whole of China, the expert said, adding that these are reflected in the 3 China-US joint communique. But the US is constantly provoking China over the Taiwan question, touching the country's bottom line and interfering in its internal affairs, which has lost its credibility as a major power inconsistent with its word and deeds, according to the experts. The US is playing small tricks to near China's bottom line. In fact, as I said, it is trying to keep a certain degree of heart, but in this process, it has indeed lost its credibility as a major power, Zhao said. The expert said the US is constantly provoking confrontation and division among the countries in the Asia-Pacific region, all because of its national strategy, which has been seen through by all the countries in the region. In fact, the US cannot realize the purpose of its Indo-Pacific strategy, and this has also been seen through by the people and governments of the countries in the Asia-Pacific region. Such an approach that is not conducive to the regional peace will be opposed by the countries and people in the region, Zhao said. The 3-day summit was held in Singapore from Friday to Sunday after a 2-year suspension due to COVID-19 pandemic, focusing mainly on security in the Asia-Pacific region and viable solutions. Now let's have a look at the weather and what you can expect for tomorrow. Thank you for watching the Daily Roundup here on EAC News Channel. For more breaking news and updates, check our website eacnews.asia or search EAC News on Telegram, Smart TV, or at your favorite app store. More from EAC News team tomorrow night at 8 p.m. See you then!